The News by Smith Co.
Hello and welcome back to the news. Today we're going to be discussing some of the news in the recent years. So Disney's CEO has not been removed as of this taping, even though he was seen to be supporting those in America with the anti-gay rights bills. Yeah, a man who doesn't have the nicest history, hasn't been seen as the greatest fella for Disney when it comes to the fans of Disney. Not seen as a great, seen as a fella who'd kind of make Disney money but wouldn't make it look like the most amazing company. Supporting Republican candidates in America that are, homophobic by giving them money. Having Pixar have come out and stated that he's one of the reasons why their projects oftentimes get scrapped. He's no, that's too inclusive, which is very weird because he tried to use that as an argument against his removal by saying Disney has a lot of inclusive projects. Thinking, yeah, but your subsidiary has sort of stated that you do reject a lot of them, so can't really fall back on that. But that's the whole issue in the modern day with him as Disney's CEO. He's not being seen as the best fella. He's seen as making a lot of money for Disney, but not as a lot of original works. So a lot of investment in IP, that Disney owned. When he was running the Disney parks, was seen as a fella who did a lot when it came to just basically turning a movie idea into a park, and then that was sort of it. He wasn't into the all original ideas. So there's not really a great history with the fans and Disney's CEO. Some fans hope that he will be removed, but as of yet, it doesn't look like he will. Now, in other news, Vladimir Putin still continues to have troops in Ukraine after their invasion a couple of weeks back. So still fairly terrible things going on there. He has addressed a rally in Moscow recently, and has actually praised his country's forces. It's not exactly the nicest thing going on there. Russian missiles have destroyed an aircraft repair plant. A convoy in Poland are discussing this situation in Ukraine. In other news, Germany actually votes to end most of its coronavirus restrictions. This is actually in spite of the recent increase in cases. Now, there's also a little bit of news when it comes to P&O ferries. Downing Street in England has warned that P&O ferries is looking very closely, they stated, at the legality of the decision to sack 800 seafarers. So the problem with this is that P&O, which is a ferry company, sacked 800 ferry employees without notice yesterday, and replaces them with cheaper agency workers. Now, obviously, this is very dodgy. You don't want to be looking at that thinking, okay, so you're just gonna fire employees without warning. As far as I can tell, in my country at least, there's laws in place where you kind of have to give someone prior notice to their job before just saying they're gone. The situation you have here where you're looking at a problem here where it's they aren't actually talking with unions, which is kind of what you're supposed to do after just laying off 800 of your employees, just like, no, we're not going to talk to any employees, No, the unions, the people who represent, those people we just partly illegally sort of sacked, won't be talking to them. Well, that's going to get you in a bit of trouble, or at least it should. So the problem is, it's not really in that much trouble. The people have argued that the UK government should, just take over P&O vessels, and that they should try and get the company's owner to sort of just cut support with them. The problem is that as of this moment, this is actually raising concerns and raising the issue once again of this kind of fire and rehire situation where businesses just go, we can hire people elsewhere, so let's just do that. And in other news, it has been reported that President of the USA, Joe Biden, has been talking with Chinese leader Xi Jinping. It's been stated that he's trying to convince China's leader to, join the US in its efforts to put pressure against Russia after it invaded Ukraine. So the situation I have here is that this is not just a call to join with the US in its efforts to kind of punish Russia for just kind of invading another country, but it's furthermore trying to convince China not to assist Russia. So before this, China wasn't going against Russia, but it wasn't going with it either. But now there's been rumours of possible Chinese aid. Now, the situation, as far as we know as of this taping, we don't know what exactly has been the decisions behind this call. But it's that, China is, I guess you could say, they're just asking them to not really stand with Vladimir Putin. So, Biden has successfully sort of united with Western and other Western nations against Russia, while still giving military support to Ukrainian forces. Of course, the problem continues with European countries in particular giving money to Russia as they place sanctions against them, which is kind of, somewhat contradictory. When you're buying oil and gas, maybe it is time to move towards green energy, because maybe you just don't give your, the people you're actively placing sanctions against money for, energy you could just get from elsewhere, Anyway, looking at other things, you can see that China has taken a stance that has been, it's been a kind of a background stance. They haven't actually called Russia's invasion of Ukraine and, of course, the continued violence a war. So this is the kind of situation where it's clear that China is balancing its diplomatic sense. Obviously, China is a little bit more prone to trying to be more careful in its external sources. So while it does have a few things in which it doesn't really back down on when it comes to international trade, it tends to be a little bit better when it comes to other countries and relations with other countries than Russia tends to be when it's a little bit more central and internal looking. So when you're looking at other news, there's all sorts of things going on. people will be looking at things such as, Poland with its solidarity with Ukraine, all these sort of things where, there's a lot of things going on in this situation. And a lot of the time when looking at this, one really does have to think, well, the world having this sort of situation where there's all this problems, you've got Taliban arresting TV staff, after they criticise the decision to ban foreign dramas that, might be a little bit more factual. And you have all sorts of things where the EU has gotten into hot water after it, it was compared when it comes to Ukraine and Syria and being more acceptant to people from Ukraine to Syria. Some people have suggested that might be because of the fact that Syrians are seen as from the Middle East and Ukrainians are seen as coming from Europe, and the European Union might be a little bit more prone to accepting Ukrainians. Europeans have denied that that there is any relation between the higher acceptance rate of the Ukrainians, as this is the one of the biggest migration crises of Europe's history. It's interesting how some of the more racist people are not so they're a little less prone to talking about the theoretical issues that might happen due to this mass migration, which is of interest, really. Now, of course, there was the recent claim from the UK's defence minister that Russia, attempted to pose as Ukraine's prime minister and an imposter call with him. He claimed that Russia used their dirty tricks as a hoax for this, and ordered an immediate inquiry to find out how this imposter was able to speak to him. He described the conversation as a desperate attempt, and no amount of Russian disinformation, distortion and dirty tricks could distract from the situation in Ukraine. That's what he said there. And, the Home Secretary said that she too had also been targeted by a call from an imposter earlier that week. So a lot of hoax callers calling members of the UK government there. Now, in other news, a woman from Britain has been released from Iran after being in there for 6 years in detention. And that's all we have for you this evening, or this afternoon, or whatever the situation time you're listening to this at. And thank you for listening. Please do go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and goodbye forever then.